How's everybody doing? I wanted to do this video and I was pretty excited to share these groups with everybody who was following and interested. I actually wasn't going to do it until tomorrow, but I had a pretty good day about it, so I thought I'd get going and share here. Get this camera going. It's funny, whenever I have a beer out here, I always am concerned I'm going to knock it over, and I never do, but I'm always worried about it, so I always kind of keep it, off to the side. Okay. So I measured the same as last week. I measured these with the calipers, and listen, I talked about a few things in the videos. I don't know for everybody who watched them, but one of the things I was battling with, and I'm not making excuses, was fog. Fog was extreme today, and so as a result, I struggled and had to change groups halfway through the range session just to help with a 3x9 on the TR. Now, I think I fell in love with the TR today, performed excellently, and I'm going to go and do the typical Savage mod things to make it even better. For one thing, I'm going to lighten the trigger further, because this gun shoots. Okay, so first and foremost, this was the target I changed it to after shooting some Blazer trial rounds. Now keep in mind, this was a 3x9 scope in heavy fog, and it was mainly just to see functionality. I just tested some quick ammo. So at the top we have CCI Blazer, right there. 0.69 was the smallest group, and you can see them here. This is a 1-inch circle. The next group, CCI Standard Velocity, 630. CCI Subsonic surprised me with 0.459. That's a respectable group. SK, I switched to that, flat nose, basic, I believe. Might be target, I don't remember. 0.594. SK Standard Plus. Look at that. 0.527. I don't know if I pulled that because of the scope. Yeah, it's hard to tell. My point is like, for the most part, every one of these groups is pretty good. Like, they're not all super awesome, but like there's an awesome group there with this scope. So this tells me from, non-bulk ammo, none of this ammo is super expensive, but SK is good stuff, and I've had good luck with, as you know, actually all the CCI Subsonic. I don't shoot very often, but they're all pretty good. So that tells me that this gun is a shooter. Then after getting used to the trigger and spending some time with it, after, man, it must have been approaching 150, 200 rounds, I shot this. Now this is the other style of target in the fog. I don't know if you can make that out. Look at that group. 489, 422, best of the day. And then of course, because things have to happen like that, a 0.840. But that group from that Savage TR with that scope, 0.422, super awesome. So I was super pleased with that. And I talked about in one of the videos that I was going to throw a trophy that I have, a spare trophy 4-12 with DOA reticle. I actually forgot that I have a Bushnell with target turrets. It's 6x18 with a DOA reticle. So that's going to go on it because 18 will be perfect. It's kind of tactical, so it'll look kind of at home in the package. I forgot I had it, so that's going to go on there. All right, so let's move on to the Schultz and Larson. Let's talk about that. The gun that gave me so much drama today. So the Schultz and Larson with Ely Sport and CCI Standard Velocity, you can see turned out some respectable groups for CCI Standard Velocity. You can see the right placement of the groups based on, it was maxed out on my windage. Still have to figure it out, but you can see a couple of the groups, 0.405, 0.382 from the Ely Sport here at 50. Very respectable groups for that particular gun. I'm pretty happy with these, considering that obviously there's some sort of alignment issue. And I have shot this style of group with Standard Velocity, CCI Standard Velocity, many times. So these groups are really good, and I don't have much to complain about them. These up here are poor. Like this one's terrible. 1.2. That's, I think, the worst group I've ever got from. That's typically a 100-yard group from this gun. So I'm not going to judge this too much, but when I switched to Ely, I'm overall pretty happy with that. I'm not going to complain too much. And the fog and that sort of thing. So let's talk about the Anschutz 54 at 50 with CCI standard velocity. So the worst on the paper, ignore this bottom portion because that's other things, but the worst on the paper was 0.783 and the best was 0.398 with CCI standard velocity. So you can kind of see the typical groups there. I think if you average them out, you're looking at probably slightly under half an inch at 50 with CCI standard velocity in fog, but no wind today at 50. I've done much better. Like last week was better. Some of them aren't bad, but certainly not barn burners. So yeah, you know, like it is what it is. It happens. I'm still relatively okay with it. So this is the Ely Sport, the Aguila Ely Sport, and you can see that particular group right there is amazing and much smaller, much more consistent, much tighter, less flyers. Like there are a couple like this one, but that sort of flyer is so close to the group that really it's nothing crazy. So like a 0.229, 0.267, 377, very consistent groups. And the worst in this particular paper was 0.535, so like half an inch. This is encouraging. And like, listen, I'm going to probably say this again, and I'll say it again now after we look at this. We look at these and we're like, wow, this is an Anschutz 54. Dude, like seriously, there's no rear bag. And so if you've never shot a target rifle with no rear bag, try it. It is extremely difficult. Not so much at 50, but we're about to look at 100 and you'll see. 50, I've become reasonably accomplished at it, but 100 was a whole nother animal today. It's the first time I tried it. And like I messed around a few times in the past, you know, when I'd forget my bag or didn't bother setting it up, but man. So these are my groups from 100 with CCI standard velocity today in the fog, and like sometimes it was invisible, and like I'm showing you guys this because I think it's important because these are real world groups and I actually shot these today, and I think some of them, like this one's not bad and this one's pretty good and this one's not bad and this one's terrible. But again, considering the conditions with no bag, like I said, CCI standard velocity in my hands, sub half-inch groups at 100 yards, many of them. So, but with a bag. So big difference when it's freehand, free holding, and really humbled today by this experience. So I've got a lot of practicing to do, got to work on my technique, and I'm going to use this as a learning experience. Anyway, so that's CCI standard velocity at 100. Now let's go to the Ely Sport, Aguila Ely Sport, and ignore these. These were the sighters from 50 to 100 playing around. So they're kind of like weird, but they were sighters, and then I went this way. And again, they're much tighter. Like I shot a 4.404 was the best group at 100 of the day. They're consistently tighter than the CCI standard velocity, which is why in the video I referenced that that's probably the ammo I'm going to go with. Worst group of the day from them was basically 1.4 at 100, which is great. Like that's not a bad group. I'll take that any day at 100 with a 22. You know, 9.94. I think that's actually 7.11. Oh, sorry, 0.711. Anyway, I think if you average them out, you'd be just about, just shy of an inch, probably 0.9 or so. From like Ely Sport, the cheapest Ely in the lineup, at 100 yards today in heavy fog with no rear bag. Any one of these groups I'm super pleased with. Especially since when you look at the CCI standard velocity, same day, same conditions, same everything else, you know, it really makes it apparent how much Ely Sport shoots better. So, like I said in the videos, I'm going to go pick up some more of these because these have me, with the conditions and no bag, it's almost like There is a couple of more sheets that I shot with a bag, but they don't really count because we were shooting with no bag today. So I shot Elite Sport with a bag today, and they were all like this. And they don't matter because it's not what I'm training for and practicing for. I'm practicing for the match with no bag. So the only thing that matters is practicing for real world conditions. And so this group matters, or sorry, this sheet of group matters, and so does this. And the others I shot, I don't think there's anything to complain about at 50. I don't think there's anything to really learn from 50, because the groups are pretty good for no bag, and like a couple of things I could change. I'm more watching windage and elevation differences from this to CCI, which I worked out a little bit here and there, but I'm pretty confident if we average these out, and I probably will do for my own humor, but I think if we average these out, we'd be sitting at probably 0.35, 0.375 maybe average group at 50 with the cheapest Ely in the lineup with no bag. So I don't know how many times I'm going to say no bag. So the people who think, oh, that group's not so good for an Anschutz 54 with the cheapest Ely in the lineup, but there's no bag, rear bag. So even the CCI standard velocity I would not complain about, because there's not a lot to complain about. So, like, comparing the two, again, I think they're both excellent. I think that the Ely is just slightly better, and certainly much better at 100, which is usually how it goes. But really, to me, the most pleasing of the day, the budget kind of build, is the Savage TR, like 0.422. It was one group. It was actually two, I guess. So 2 out of the 3 were excellent. So you average that out, you're probably 0.6 for the, but that's Blazer, right? Of course, there is a bag, and like the differences are there. But I think when I revisit this, I don't know if I'm gonna have time next Saturday, but if I revisit this gun again with the 18 power scope that I have, the spare scope that I have, we'll see what it'll do with the same thing. Maybe I'll do the same ammo again. Realistically, I would like to put a Ride-On on it, the same one I have on the Savage, because, sorry, the Anschutz, because I'm really digging that scope, and it's kind of like, I think it would be good in a lot of ways. I really like its performance, glass, reticle, everything on it. I'm getting to be quite comfortable with it. But anyway, this has me tickled. I think because I'm have a soft spot for Savages. I was really into them for so long, so I couldn't be happier with that. Listen, some aren't good. Like, some are a little bit bigger than others, and 0.690, for example, that I measured there. That is not a stellar group. It's like you're approaching 3/4 of an inch at 50, but with Blazer out of a gun with a 3x9. And so I'm not making excuses for my crappy performance, but I don't think that's that crappy. I don't think 630 out of a standard velocity is that crappy. I'm super encouraged. And I think probably you guys who have these and shoot these groups regularly in your own rigs will agree that these aren't that bad for a 3x9 and heavy fog, brand new gun, just whipping through ammo. I didn't clean in between, so we go from, this is the Blazer, sorry, line you up here. This is a Blazer group. I didn't clean in between, and then we went right to standard velocity, and we were right to subsonic. And the same with SK. We went right to SK. We're straight from CCI, so no barrel cleaning in between. And like, that's pretty good. That's 0.527 from standard plus. Like, that's not super expensive ammo. Anyway, the point is that they're all relatively consistent, the top groups in each one. And so, perhaps you can glean some information from that. I know what I see from my experience shooting. I know what I see out of these groups. I see a sub $400 rifle just begging to shoot sub 0.4 inch groups regularly with a little bit of work, better scope. And like, how can you beat that? Anyway, thanks a lot for watching and your patience in me getting these together. And this is the results from this week. I'm going to do the same thing next week, and it's but with Elite Sport on the Anschutz. So we'll set the 0 stops, and we'll get going there. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Talk to you later.